start your show now.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Insurrection, obstruction, indictments, civilly liable for sexual abuse. The one man responsible for all that could be sitting in a prison cell on election day and still be elected commander-in-chief for these United States. That man is beholden to Putin, weakened NATO the last time around, and is currently tying himself to wealthy Saudi oil money. He enriched himself when government stayed at his properties. He campaigned on wanting to use government to go after his political rivals and wants to expand executive power. If Donald Trump is reelected, our nation is lost. So let's roll up our sleeves, get to work, and tell the MAGA folks no more before it's too late.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio and want to call in, just please make sure to go over to liberaldanradio.com, which is the YouTube channel. Come to the live and just let us know who is calling in, because we want to make sure to answer the right number, just who you are, what your area code is. Otherwise, if you're listening on YouTube or on twitch.tv/liberaldanradio, you can leave your comments in the chat and we'll respond there. And if you're listening after the live broadcast, you could always leave your comments, questions, concerns, etc. over on the episode thread on liberaldanradio.com as well. To support the show, make sure to like the current stream, share it, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed to it. Go to go to Twitch, follow over there. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe on Twitch for free. Otherwise, you can also pay the normal price, or you can subscribe to become a Liberal Danimal over on YouTube as well. Pay for super stickers, super chats. You can use bits on Twitch as well. You can buy memberships for others on both platforms. You can buy me a cider, liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button, or just go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio. That will also help out. Also, at Venmo, at liberaldan at Venmo as well. Just use friends and family because you're not making a purchase or anything. And of course, we could always include the game links that I always play as well. The link to the game is in the episode description on YouTube, so you can check that out as well. I'm trying to, the Nerdy Dan stream, which airs Tuesdays every week. We're doing the game sponsorships and trying, if you enjoy playing games on your phone or on your computer as well. I think this one is available on your computer too. You can do both, and you can help out the show and playing games for free and helping me get a little bit extra money on top of that as well. It's just another free way to help out the show. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. I'm feeling a little bit better. I had a little bit of a cough, but I'm not as stuffy and congested as I was on Monday, so I am feeling better. I might not do a super long show today because right now my dad and my stepmother are in town, and we just had dinner with them, left them with the grandkids so the grandkids can enjoy themselves and spend more time with their grandparents. And we will. I'm gonna have to go pick them up after the show's over, so can't go too long today. So, but maybe we'll make it up another day. They'll be here Monday as well, so I might have another shorter show on Monday. But afterwards, we'll go back to your regularly scheduled programming. You love my hair. I don't think I've done anything different with my hair since last time. So, but there you go. But thank you for loving my hair. Appreciate you. Good to see you, Impeccable Living. I think Impeccable Living is one of my new friends from the Dude podcast. People usually, after a lot of the folks from here will go over and head on over to the Dude stream after I finish up, and so we end up seeing hey, long time no see over there. So thank you for joining us for there. We got Mad Mac, Dakota Dave, Jeff, Aaron, Janelle, Big Hook, Suzanne are in the chat, so thank you all for joining. Appreciate you as always. Always good to see familiar faces time and time again. Nerd Misha's in the chat. Good to see you. Who else we got to catch up with? I think that's all that has said anything in the chat so far. Jolie's here. Welcome back, Jolie. Glad to see you as well. Yes, Suzanne says, make sure to smash the like button, and then we'll smash the patriarchy. Currently, the difference between likes and viewers is 3, so go ahead and keep smash, 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 and array. I'm not sure if anything's going to be a total rant today. I do have a Hypocrite of the Week audio this week. I've just finished it up about 2 minutes before going live. So there's that. What else? Got a whole bunch of interesting things to talk about. We do have the Hunter Biden verdict to talk about. We'll talk about that a little bit. That's actually part of the Hypocrite of the Week audio is part of that. So we'll be talking about Republican hypocrisy. Oh, hell, the Republican hypocrisy revolving around that whole topic started in the 2016 presidential elections with Donald Trump and his lock her up chants, and all the Republicans and conservatives being like, lock her up, lock her up. Well, you know what? Lock her up is Donald Trump saying, and him saying that she should be locked up is basically him saying that he wants to use government to go after his political rivals. Donald Trump campaigned on Lawfare, and the Republicans were all like, yay, we're going to do it. And then he never did it. He didn't go after Hillary. He just dropped that ball. And people say, well, why isn't Hillary in prison? People ask, and I'll be like, well, why didn't Donald Trump go after Hillary for 4 years? Probably because it wasn't a worthwhile case, because at the time it was a misdemeanor. And then he made it a felony, and then he violated his own felony that he signed into law. But yet, going after him is lawfare. But we're going to go about that a little bit, and some other topics as well. What else? We got Speaker Johnson has also, and House Republicans, except for one, have voted to hold Merrick Garland in contempt over the Biden interview audio. Biden had an interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur on Biden's handling of classified documents, and the Republicans are all mad that they won't turn over the audio of the transcript that they already have. So they already have a transcript of the interview, but they don't have an audio of the interview, so they want to confirm the audio, but the White House is claiming executive privilege on it. And of course, if Donald Trump claimed executive privilege on anything that he created that was audio, the Republicans would claim that that the Democrats were using lawfare again to go after Donald Trump, and that he, of course, should have executive privilege. The Republicans are arguing that Donald Trump should have immunity on everything. So if Republicans should have immunity on everything, and shouldn't Biden also have immunity on everything for anything he does? But no, they won't see it that way, because hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. The final vote was 216 to 207. David Joyce of Ohio was the only Republican to vote against the contempt resolution. Mike Johnson called the outcome a significant step in maintaining the integrity of our oversight processes and responsibilities. Speaker Johnson wouldn't know integrity if it slapped him in the face and said, "Hi, I'm integrity. Nice to meet you. We've never met before, but I would sure hope that you would like to, take advantage of me from time and time again from this point on." And Speaker Johnson would be like, "No, I'm sorry. I don't have any interest in you, integrity. I'm going to just do my own thing." It's up to Congress, not the executive branch, to determine what materials it needs to conduct its own investigations. There are consequences to refusing to comply with lawful congressional subpoenas. Of course, if Donald Trump was president, and if Donald Trump ignored a lawful subpoena on the part of the Democrats, the Republicans would be like, nope. Many Republicans in Congress ignored lawful subpoenas on the part of Congress when it came to the January 6th investigation, when that committee was being held, and that committee was technically bipartisan because it had 2 Republicans on it, but it wasn't a full-on commission because the Republicans in the House said it wouldn't agree to make one. So the House had to do one specially and in a different way. But again, yeah, if anybody who ignored the congressional subpoenas that were lawfully submitted to members of Congress and other folks who, aided and abetted the terrorists on, I almost said 10/7, that's a different act, on January 6th, those people are perfectly fine and okay in Speaker Johnson's book, but oh no, let a Democratic president claim executive privilege and they're terrible people, blah, blah, blah. Garland has sent a letter to himself refusing the investigation of himself. What? Yeah, MJ Daniel. The GOP Congress is a bad joke at best, and that's at main best. They're much more dangerous, and they will be much more dangerous if Donald Trump wins. So we need to make sure that doesn't happen. What's up, Alarasia? Good to see you in the chat. Nick Rich, I don't think I said hi to Nick Rich before, but Nick Rich has been here, so hey. Ichabod Deer, release the Mueller report without redaction, same thing. F off MAGA. Amen, hallelujah. Since Hunter is convicted, I can't vote for him. I was hoping he'd run for McCarthy's seat. Nice. Let's see. Today's vote disregards the constitutional separation of powers, the Justice Department's need to protect its investigations, and the substantial amount of information we have provided to the committees. Garland said in a statement, "I will always stand up for the department, its employees, and the vital mission to defend our democracy." While DOJ made a transcript of her interview with Biden available to GOP-led committees, House Republicans argued the audio tapes are necessary to their stalled impeachment investigation into the president. Wonder why it's stalled. Because there's no case to impeach. But, the Republicans from day one, or at least from day one after Bill Clinton had a little shenanigans in the Oval Office with Monica, the GOP has turned the impeachment process into a sham, into fake news, as Donald Trump would say, or otherwise they've turned it into just a political stunt that has no real meaningful purpose whatsoever other than to attack people politically. The committees need the audio tapes to verify because the accuracy of the written transcripts, given the White House has been known to heavily edit the president's statements. Says who? Who says they known to heavily edit the president's statements? There is a simple matter. We have the transcript. We need the audio. Contempt resolution directs House Speaker to refer a case to the U.S. Attorney of District of Columbia for possible criminal prosecution. Before the House Judiciary Committee last week, Garland continued to defend his decision to not turn over the audio tapes of the interview over which President Biden has asserted executive privileges. I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated. We'll do our job free from political influence, and we will not back down. They won't back down. Sorry. And we will not back down from defending our democracy. So let's see. Democrats have also come to Garland's defense, describing GOP push to hold him in contempt as politically motivated. This isn't about a policy disagreement with the DOJ. This is about feeding the MAGA base after 18 months of investigations that have produced failure after failure, says Jerry Nadler, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, in this testimony before the House Rules Committee. Joyce, the sole Republican to vote against the resolution, also suggested it was a partisan act. As a former prosecutor, I cannot in good conscience support a resolution that would further politicize our judicial system to score political points. The American people expect Congress to work for them, solve policy problems, and prioritize good governance. Enough is enough. Hey, there's one. We found one Republican who has a spine to stand up against his own party and who understands how these things are supposed to work, but one ain't enough. Congress held Peter Navarro, a former top Trump advisor, in contempt of Congress in 2022 for defying records and testimony to the now defunct House Select Committee investigating January 6th. Navarro was recently sentenced to 4 months behind bars. Steve Bannon, also a Trump ally who was also held in contempt of Congress in 2022 for not complying with the Select Committee, has been ordered to report to jail on July 1st as well. So again, more ridiculousness, more hypocrisy, more conservative malarkey, coming to you directly from Speaker Johnson and the rest of the Republicans in Congress, except for, I guess, that one guy. So there's that. Jeff Curry, I've never done any shenanigans. I felt left out. I disbelieve you. I'm sure you've done shenanigans at some point. Basically, what Congress is asking DOJ to do won't get past the Senate anyway. Complete exercise of futility. Well, that's the case because they're trying to impeach. And even if they did manage to pass articles of impeachment, the Senate won't do it. Just like the Senate basically told them F off when it came to the articles of impeachment of was it Mayorkas? So there's that. Nick Rich, June 27th debate won't happen. Excuses from von Schitzenpants on the way. Ah, good. Donald von Schitzenpants. Yeah. He is very cowardly. He's not a very brave person. The song we reacted to claimed he's a warrior, but, so be it. But not a warrior at all. He stands up against so-called warriors. He questions why people who served in our military, what was in it for them? Because that's the only thing he understands is only doing things if they benefit you. If God forbid he wins and destroys the country, they will blame Hillary or something, I'm sure. Let's see. Nick Rich, can elected officials join a live chat? It would be fun to engage with some of them. They'd be more than welcome to if they could come in right here, Liberal Dan Radio. Talk them up. That's right. Open phones. Yes, Nadler is a Dem. He's the ranking member of the House committee. He's the ranking Democratic member on that committee. So... Let's just see. Okay, I think I've scrolled back to as far back as I've seen already. But since we got 23 viewers, let's go ahead and since we were talking, his Bone Spurs will be acting up. Can't make the debate. Exactly. Captain Bone Spurs. That's one of the comments I made. If you happen to see the video or the podcast last week, I did upload the video of me reacting to that song about, the Chosen One song about Donald Trump and him being convicted, yet they still view him like Jesus, and my reaction to that I did live on the air on Monday. The shortened version is there on YouTube as well, as are my most recent jokes that I made, as is the most recent Just the Clip, where it just has Donald Trump saying that he doesn't care about the voters. And of course the MAGA folks come out and will be like, what's your point? Someone is like, is your life better than it was 4 years ago? I'm like, absolutely it is. My life is absolutely much better today than it was 4 years ago. Hands down, no questions asked. Of course, they'll probably say, well, that wasn't Joe Biden doing it. Well, if your life is worse, then now it probably wasn't Joe Biden doing it either. It's probably you effing around and finding out. So anyway, well, let's go ahead. We have the Hypocrite of the Week this week, so let's go ahead and play this week's Hypocrite of the Week. This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Speaker Johnson and anyone else who agrees with him about the use of so-called lawfare. Johnson believes that the case against Hunter Biden is concrete, but not the one against Trump, and still believes the DOJ is being weaponized. Why would Democrats weaponize the DOJ and then allow it to go after, of all people, the president's son? It makes no sense, but then again, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. To see who next week's Hypocrite of the Week will be, tune in live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on LiberalDanRadio.com and twitch.tv/LiberalDanRadio for more talk from the left. That's right. So there you go. Speaker Johnson wins the award this week of being this week's Hypocrite of the Week. And, of course, anybody else who agrees with him. Again, it doesn't make any sense. Again, why would... If we wanted to use the... I think Khalil's on the phone. We'll go to Khalil in a second. If we wanted to use the Department of Justice politically, why on earth would Biden have kept on the attorney that was looking into Hunter Biden in the first place? Why would it, if it was all political, why wouldn't President Biden say, okay, we're going to fire this guy and squash the investigation into my own child? His own child. But the Republicans are like, well, the case against him was, who cares? Sure, maybe they had the jury, beyond reasonable doubt, convict him of crimes that hardly anybody else is ever charged with. Even Trey Gowdy, crazy conservative Republican former Congressman Trey Gowdy, said that this is a very rare, if ever charged, crime. And he has it right even. But, you know, it happens. And we have them just proving their hypocrisy every single day. But
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. All right, let's head over to Khalil. What's going on, Khalil? How's your day today?
Pretty good. I noticed that with them, the hypocrisy with the border and with guns, and they don't learn. The bad thing about it is they'll call you a hypocrite in a minute, but they don't learn from their own. Like a situation, I'm not surprised because I've seen it before with the border. I've seen it before with the Fast and the Furious. They wanted to call out ATF because they weren't getting enough guns, and people like Alex Jones, they wouldn't have, if he had been killed by a regular civilian without the government thing, he would have been denying it actually happened. And basically, the whole thing about it is, instead of learning from it, they want to call other people, they want to call out hypocrisy, but they don't want to learn from it.
Nope,
and it's the same thing. Like I tell people all the time, you know, you want to call other people hypocrites with guns, about guns, as far as like allowing, as far as acting in a movie. See it, take your own advice as far as the Fast and the Furious. So I call someone out for that. You know, it's like you don't want to see that until it's your side. And it's like also like with the situation, like I've told you about this before. I've told people that your side always brings up cars when it comes to, you know, when it comes to gun violence, but then as soon as someone counters your argument, you all of a sudden cars are not a right like a gun. It's like, make up your mind.
Mm. Right. Well, they'll say there's no right to drive written in the Constitution. And of course, that just ignores my favorite amendment, the Ninth Amendment, which says rights don't have to be enumerated. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. But you know, with Fast and the Furious, there are documents that suggest, you know, that they were complaining about you know, Eric Holder and the whole walking of guns thing because they believed an American agent was shot by one of these guns. It's not as if they wouldn't have found another way to get a gun if they didn't get the gun this way. They were just trying to use the tactic to try and trace where the guns were going in order to catch who was using them. But according to this article, January 5th, 2012, the Justice Department sent nearly 500 pages of documents to Republican lawmakers that suggest the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives may have used these tactics and lost track of American-made weapons in gun trafficking investigation as early as 2006. So this is something that was going on past into the Bush administration. So the Obama administration was only continuing something that the Bush administration was doing. Yet these people only want to blame Obama and Eric Holder, and they don't want to blame themselves or the people in their own party when they're also shown to have done it. So again, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. So we're going to see that over and over again. It's a tale as old as time. It is what it is. So
yeah, it's the same thing with the border situation. They only used it use it for their own political gain. They didn't really care about the border. Like when it comes to legalizing these people, they consider America to be their private property, like their house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like your house. If it was like your house, it would be private. Sorry for that. If it was like your house, it'd be private, and you wouldn't have it stolen. So, I mean, this whole argument about it being your house is really dumb, too.
Well, you know, the conservatives will cry about the people crossing the border, but they won't do anything about the businesses that are paying people illegal wages in order for them to justify the corporate profits that they get. So they're not. There's no incentive for them to stop it because the Republicans are too beholden to the corporations that utilize the cheap labor that comes with allowing people to come here in violation of our border policy. So and then pay people in violation of our wage rates. because again, there are always going to be hypocrites. Hypocrisy will always rule the day with them. It's sad but true.
Yeah, and even the other things about guns, if they don't say it's not hypocrisy, they'll deflect. Like I was talking, right. I basically was talking to another guy on Blog Talk Radio. I told him I don't like the deflection tactic, but he did it anyway. He only took the part about if we ban guns, but I was talking about if we can ban guns from certain religions, certain political parties, we can ban guns from criminals. He didn't see that part. He just saw the if we ban guns thing. So I said to myself, I'm not going to play your game, so I'm going to hang up on you. I hung up on him without warning. Because not only is that an unfair thing, but it's also a thing playing with people's safety. If people can't be consistent on stuff that's safe, if people are going to support things that actually hurt people, but not stuff that actually helps people, they're part of the problem. So that's why I hung up on the guy, because it just basically allows them to just continuously be wishy-washy and get away with it.
Sure. And in the chat over here on YouTube, Chad goes, in all fairness, there's plenty of hypocrisy on both sides. Yes, sure, but I'm not. While there are hypocrites who are Democrats, hypocrisy is not a democratic prerequisite. That's the problem. Is that in order to maintain conservatism as it is today, at least, you have to be a hypocrite. You have to turn a blind eye to whoever it is that you're supporting who's doing wrong, but yet call out other people on doing wrongs. Like me, I'll call out anybody. Senator Menendez, goodbye. See you later. It's clear that he's going to be found guilty and he should be removed from office. He should have been resigned already. Anybody who's on our side who's gets convicted, good, fine, convict them. Send them to prison. Have them do their time. That's how the justice system is supposed to work. I'm not going to sit here and be beholden to any sort of politician. But the Republicans and the MAGA, you don't see many, if any, Republican conservative voters coming out and being like, you know what, Donald Trump has gone too far. There are some, but they're not the majority. They're at this moment a large or a small minority, and they should be proving us wrong if they really want to insist that they're not being hypocrites on this whole thing. So
yeah.
See, MJ Daniel, imagine the screaming from those employers if the border were truly shut down and all of a sudden they did not have their cheap labor. Oh, they would be crying. That's why you're never going to see it happen, because the employers are going to be the ones behind the whole thing, and they want to keep the cheap labor. They're never going to stop the cheap labor. But it makes a good vilifying tactic on the part of Republicans, but they're never going to do anything about it. What's up, Robin? Good to see you in the chat. Go ahead.
One of the things I have a problem also with is I was telling people, I correct people when they get defensive when people destroy criminals' guns. And I say, be content with your rights. Don't just expect people to not want to destroy guns that are part of criminals, but then want your rights. It's like, you can't just expect people to respect your rights to bear arms, but then when a criminal misuses it, you want to get defensive about them destroying or burning the gun, or people destroying their own guns. Like, make up your mind about that too.
I mean, they love the gun more than they love the victim. That's all that's there.
Absolutely. That's why I get angry when people that do that, they say you're exploiting it, because the only thing they're doing is not only being a hypocrite, but they're also making themselves out to be a bigger asshole.
Right. Well, that's why I love the whole, it's too soon to talk about it. Okay, well, let's not talk about this one. Let's talk about all the 50 other ones that you said was too soon after all of those. Let's talk about those. We'll ignore this one. Let's talk about all the past ones. Oh, no, we can't talk about those past ones because it's so close to this one. They'll find excuse after excuse after excuse to not hold gun manufacturers responsible for their actions, to not hold gun sellers responsible for their actions, to not install nationwide, no exception, gun or background checks for all gun transfers, from transferring a gun ownership from one person to another, should all involve some sort of paper trail that says, hey, this person is legally okay to have this weapon. Simple as that. But they don't want to do that because they feel it's going to hurt them somehow. It's going to hurt sales because, as I've said many, many times before in this program, the National Rifle Association, they don't care about, they'll give lip service to protecting gun rights, but they don't care about gun rights. They only care about gun sales. They want the sellers of gun to be able to keep selling guns and sell as much guns as possible.
And that's why I hang up or stop talking to people who deflect attention, because all that does is keep the NRA and these radical gun nuts to continue to be wishy-washy, because I just end conversations and I hang up on people that do that.
Right. Cool. So when's the camping trip again? You said the 22nd?
21st. It's going to be the weekend after next. Matter of fact, there was an FBI and the National Forest Service and the Virginia State Police that was investigating a dead body.
Right, I think you told us that.
I just wondered who. I just because I know, like, at the park you can have guns depending on where you go, but you can't have it on the trail. So if I see somebody probably with a gun, it's probably going to be an officer.
Could be. Let's see.
Hopefully it is a police officer.
Right. I'm trying to see what
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and if I don't talk to you before you go on your trip, enjoy your trip. All right, Khalil?
All right, thank you.
You have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
I was just trying to look up the see if I can find the instance or the article, the instance of that taking place. But it's lots of people apparently found in parks. So there you go. Is talking about Columbine was in the 90s too soon for them? Probably, because to them you're not talking about Columbine. You're talking about all the other shootings, the more recent shootings. Because anytime a new shooting comes up, it resets the clock. They don't like resetting the clock on other things, like when you pay a discriminatory wage. They don't like that, but they'll absolutely reset the clock on the discussion of anything that has to do with a gun crime. On whenever a new gun crime happens. It's too soon to talk about it. We can't talk about it right now. It's too soon. Boo-hoo. See, it's the automatic semi-auto second right shotgun owners weren't ammo lunatics. Well, Biden was talking the other day. Biden was talking about a conversation that he was having with somebody who was initially complaining to President Biden about President Biden's want to have an assault weapons ban, to reestablish the assault weapons ban, and Biden is like, why do you need 6 to 12, 20 some odd rounds of ammunition in your assault rifle in order to protect yourself? I'm not trying to Biden's like, I'm not trying to take away your right to protect yourself, but if you need that many rounds in your magazine in order to make sure that you can get rid of your target that you're trying to protect yourself from, that just means you're probably a really bad shot. Why are you such a bad shot? And the guy was like, you know what? You have a point. But don't tell me that Joe Biden is, Dementia Joe and can't think on his feet and whatever, as they want to say. Meanwhile, you have Bonespurs Kafefi, who's having flubs and gabs and just bad statements all the damn time. But they want to make excuses for that, but they'll complain about Sleepy Joe or whatever. Well, give me Sleepy Joe any day of the week, twice on Sunday, especially compared to Donald Trump. The GQB is dumb. Well, that's clearly a given at this point. That's because they want to be. They don't even care about being stupid anymore. Because Donald Trump said after the 2016 Nevada primary, I love the poorly educated. Well, if that's who he loves, he didn't say he loved anybody else, but he did bring up the poorly educated and how much he loves them. And all of the people who are the MAGA base are every day trying to prove to him that they're just as uneducated, just as poorly educated as all the rest of them. So please love us too. I mean, it is what it is. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Mondays, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central here on liberaldanradio.com, which is the YouTube channel, or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio, blogtalkradio.com/liberaldan. If you want to help the show, remember to like this video, share the video, share other videos, comment on other videos, get those algorithms going. Play the game I have posted in the episode description on liberaldanradio.com. Buy me a cider. Venmo, Liberal Dan. But the most important thing to do above all else, get other people to subscribe. Help me get to 1,000 so I can finally have my own custom emojis or my own custom loyalty badges, because I'm tired of the other ones. I want to make my own. Want to make new ones. Yes, Putin, it is what it is. Sorry, that's Donald's line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So, yeah, it's just mind-numbingly dumb, the stuff that we have to deal with. Gives me a headache. Not just the fact that I had allergies, so I had a allergy headache too, but it gives me a legitimate headache because having to explain to these people. And these people are just like, again, they come on the videos, at least with some of the newer videos, I'm getting a little bit more engagement because I managed to rile up the hornet's nest with my just the clip bit that I just posted from the other day, and then with the couple of jokes that I made. Oy. Suzanne, for a scrumptious snack, I'm going to eat a huge chocolate muffin with a cold glass of milk. Sounds good. Come bring me one. Didn't Trump tell his parole officer that he still has a gun? He may very well have told his parole officer that he still has a gun. Donald Trump has been bringing criminals on the trail with him. Now he can't hang around with any more criminals as a part of his probation. How's that going to work? Putin, it's madness now. Toxic spew of gaslit nonsense. Pretty much. That's what the GOP is. A toxic stew. I think I read spew first. A toxic stew of gaslit nonsense. So what else is going on? What else we got to talk about today? We got Mike Johnson's tries saving the GOP's biggest lie on Hunter Biden and Trump. Again, it seems that nothing, even a guilty verdict for Hunter Biden, can convince right-wing conspiracy theorists like Speaker Johnson that the Department of Justice is not under the direct control of Democratic presidents. CNN's Manu Raju spoke to Johnson shortly after the ruling on Tuesday and asked him whether or not he felt Biden's guilty verdict undermined the GOP narrative that Democrats have implemented a, quote, two-party system to target Donald Trump. That's not two-party. Two-tiered justice system. It doesn't. Every case is different, and clearly the evidence is overwhelming here. I don't think that that's the case in the Trump trial. And all the charges that have been brought against him have obviously been brought for political purpose. Hunter Biden is just a separate instance. Yeah, okay, dude, sure, whatever. Ever since Trump was found guilty of 34 felonies, the former president's allies in the far-right GOP have claimed louder that the Department of Justice is politically motivated and as a weapon of the Biden administration. One might think this notion would be challenged by Hunter Biden's guilty verdict, but that person would also have to imagine that these Republicans operate on a baseline of logic or reason, no such luck. One would only wish that they could embrace facts, logic, and reason, but no, they don't. Should troll him with rubber sharks. Oh, his rubber shark rant was just gloriously horrible. As was that song again. The whole contempt of Garland as a Trump directive. He has been presidenting over the maggots in Congress. Yeah, true. I mean, they're just doing his wishes. That's what we're going to get, though, if he becomes president. I see no way that the Democrats retake the House if President Trump manages to win. President Trump manages to win and become president again, he's just going to have a Congress that's going to just bend over backwards and forwards for him. So in terms of this case not being politically motivated, it's worth noting that the case brought against him is considered relatively rare among gun prosecutions, even with Fox News commentator Trey Gowdy suggesting he might be subject to political persecution. None of this can perpetuate the victim complex of the Republican frontrunner, however, and his cronies like Johnson. It's all performative. It's not what is real. It smears to misinfo, poo bombs in people's heads. Pretty much. Ugh, excuse me. I'm about to fall asleep already. Last night I had not the greatest night of sleep, but it was a better night's sleep than recently, but I've still been super sleepy. Like after Monday's show, I ended up like staying up till like 5 o'clock in the morning working on something work related. I got it finished to a point where I could demonstrate this new project that I'm working on for work, and I was able to show them how the program works and then make them happy with how the program works because it checks all the boxes. They're like, we need to make sure that the people who are using the program can find people easily and can do one or two other things. So I made sure that those other things were done and I could show that it was done in the program. And they're like, okay, this is good, we're happy. I'm like, okay, good, yay. So a little bit less stress off of my plate on that. I still have to finish the job, but I'm also waiting for them to send me more information so I can finish the job. So can't finish it if they don't give me all the information, right? Josh, my allergies have been killing me this week too. Oh, it was terrible. I'm now seem like I'm dried up. Oh, it was so horrible. The whole weekend, even yesterday, I'm sitting there and just wiping the tears off my eyes because of the just eyes watering from all the allergens. It's ridiculous. And I'm not really that allergic to everything. I usually don't have that bad allergic reactions, but that's how it's been. So, wait, that's Trump's line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Probably going to end the show closer to 9 today, just because of the fact that I don't want to make my mom or my stepmom and my dad had a long flight today. They had a delayed flight because something weird happened where like the plane that my dad was waiting on and my stepmom to fly to New Orleans was coming from Fort Lauderdale or something, and there was some bad weather in Florida. So the plane was going up from Florida and down here. And then there was another plane that was also delayed in Baltimore that was heading towards Florida. I forget which area they were going to, but they were also affected by the storm. So my dad goes up to the thing and was like, well, if you have one plane that's coming from Florida and that's delayed because of Florida, and then you have another plane that's coming from Baltimore to Florida that's delayed because of weather, that can't leave BWI, why don't you just take the plane that was going to Florida, send it to New Orleans, and then when the plane comes up from Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach or wherever it's coming from, have that plane go down to the other Florida spot? If they were the same exact make and model of plane, that might actually make sense, but that would require the airline industry to make sense too. So yes, Southern Florida got a whole bunch of rain. It's crazy. One of the things, though... Oh, I didn't start the music early. That's nice. When I adjusted the earpiece in my head. One of the things, like, a lot of times at the end of shows, one of the things I like to end up doing is, like, doing just a random talk about, like, pop culture and stuff like that. And I want to kind of get back into that a little bit. And it's fun to just have random conversation towards the ends of shows. So what I might do... there was an interesting video that I saw... that kind of roll across my feed that basically was like, what is the best plot twist in a movie? And I don't want to talk about it now. I want to give y'all an assignment that so when at the end of Monday's show, let's have some fun after we talk about politics, talking about just random stuff, and then what that random stuff's going to be plot twists in movies and TV shows. Like, what are your favorite ones? So we'll talk about that on Monday. That'll be something we'll do on Monday. Remind me if I don't remember. But yeah, it's one other thing funny that we can do. Yes, oh man, it's not that bad of a homework. It's a fun thing. But just, I'm sure you have one or two ideas in your heads already. But if you don't, maybe just think about it or whatever, and we can talk about it Monday. Let's see. Where there's a Nick Rich. Why do Swifties scare the crap out of maggots? Because Taylor Swift is rich, a billionaire, and is against Donald Trump. And so she's an actual billionaire as compared to Donald Trump. Who knows if Donald Trump is really a billionaire or not? He claims to be one, but that doesn't mean he is one. Because anything that comes out of that person's mouth is just a lie. But the Swifties themselves, they believe... Well, here probably the best answer is because MAGA is a cult. They can't imagine other people who are fans of a person. They can't imagine them not being a cult too. So the Trump people who are fans of Taylor Swift are all part of the Taylor Swift cult. And if Taylor Swift tells them to go vote against Donald Trump for a myriad of correct reasons, they're going to be like, woo, we're going to go do it because we're a cult. But no, in reality, most of them are going to do it because that's how they feel. And she's just encouraging them to get out there. But to the MAGA folks, they can't view any other well-populated concert or any other type of collection or group of people who idolize individuals. They can't view that as being anything more than just cult behavior. So... yeah, Swifties are young, motivated, and not MAGA. That's for damn sure. Star Trek Deep Space Nine is coming on. Please, everyone, it helps me go to sleep. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. But what episode of Deep Space Nine is coming on? Because Deep Space Nine is one of the best ones out there. So. I also have a Discord, but it's automatic membership for people who are patrons. I might switch that around and maybe add some more functionality, but if you become a patron, you should have access to the Discord immediately. So, there was a funny image that people were creating, and people were showing like pictures of cereal boxes, but making them all related to Star Trek. So instead of Frosted Flakes, it was Frosted Frakes. And instead of they're great, it's like they're good, but it has the Picard, like, kind of cheering like that. And they had a whole bunch of other different cereals or whatever. And I was like, I came up with one where it was, it's a grape nuts, like, or it's a grape nuts, because they have the Romulan in one episode of Deep Space Nine that says it's a fake. And then at the end, Benjamin Sisko gives this whole speech in his log, and he talks about how he can live with the choices that he makes, and then he deletes the entire captain's log. But it's a grape nuts, the little thing underneath it is flavor you can deal with. So I was very proud of that one, even though it wasn't very well done in a Photoshop speaking sense, but it was very quick on the fly. And then of course there was my why has nobody done Oops All Beverly's yet? So, wait, Goddess Kimchi's here? Hey, it's a kimchi. Let's see. Maga, not Maga. That sounds too fancy. Well, MAGA just sounds like Gaga. Well, I mean, they are mostly babies, right? Intellectually speaking, at least. Minus Kevin Anderson, I like Discovery. I mean, I like all Trek. Then again, I also like all Star Wars, too. I haven't found really a Star Wars that I didn't like. But there is a new Star Wars show out, and I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to do any spoilers on it yet. I might post a spoiler video on it later, because I do have some thoughts for the people who are hating on the new Star Wars show, mostly because it's, oh no, it's more woke Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. Like people whining and complaining about the fact that, oh, somebody has two moms or something. Like, oh no, there's a group of only women. You can't have that. Women can't have power for themselves. And, like, so far it's been a really good show. But all these complaints that I've been seeing from people about this show, other than the whole, it's woke, tears, is, are people who have clearly shown themselves to not understand, like, any of either main themes that go on around Star Wars or, like, the underlying, themes that have been running throughout as well. Like they pushed one particular thing that made me go in episode 3 of The Acolyte, that made me be like, are they going to go there with that? I'm not going to talk about it because if you haven't watched it yet, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But there was one that was kind of like, oh, okay, I see what they might be doing there. Let's see if I'm right about that. And then there was another part of the show where I was like, okay, I see what you're doing there. I see what... And then I saw, like, this one guy who has a TikTok, the older millennial, and he made some video about how terrible the show is. And I'm like... You clearly never paid attention to the Star Wars that you're watching. Like, you've watched Star Wars and you probably just saw, ooh, look, ship fly by, big Death Star go boom, lightsaber battle. That's probably all they got from it, and didn't bother paying attention to any of the underlying themes that are part of the show. And the commentary that is made by those themes. But, probably because they're too simplistic. As Donald Trump said after the Nevada primaries in 2016, I love the poorly educated. I should take that clip and clip that as well, because, that should be something that we play all the time as well. I love the poorly educated. See, Putin, are you familiar with channel Resolute Square? Great panels, leading discussions with election updates, short 2 once a week. I've not seen it yet, but I'll have to look into it. Jolie, Star Trek only? A gasp. I don't discriminate. Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Firefly, Stargate. Lots of sci-fi that I like to watch. Give me all the wars, the star, the sci-fi. Give me all of it, except that actually I don't watch Doctor Who. It's not for any particular reason. I just never got into it, and I feel like at this point it's too late to jump on board. And of course, the new Doctor Who is probably going to make the conservatives cry even more, though, than the last Doctor Who, because the most recent Doctor Who, I think, was the woman who was a Doctor Who, and then all of a sudden, now it looks like a black Doctor Who who's gay, maybe, and that's going to just get their panties all in a bunch. So... we're all waiting for Trek. We're not just waiting for Trek Tech. We're also waiting for Trek in the beginning, intergalactic space socialism. Once you get to Star Trek, once you actually get Trek Tech, we get to Trek Tech. Once you get replicators, you're in a post-scarcity society at this point. Then we have to figure out what to do as a post-scarcity society. Because what are the people who are capitalists going to do if scarcity is no longer an issue? Dun dun dun. Me and Kevin. You are my brother, Anakin. I hate you. Pretty much. Game of Thrones is another one I like. Jeff reminds me, never seen Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter. I've only watched the first Harry Potter, and I wasn't very impressed. I didn't really like it that much. And then, much later on, Rowling came out to be a TERF, and I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad I never got into Harry Potter. What else? Kimchi, or Jeff, parents forgot me at a grocery store. Kimchi, are you sure they forgot you? That's mean, Kimchi, but I like it. Never really watched Dune either. I know enough about it to get some of the memes about bringing Fad and Rabin or whatever, but yeah, it's just, I haven't really gotten that much into Dune. See, I told you, even though I did bring up a possible topic of conversation for next show, I did tell you that I do like to end shows with just random conversation about stuff. So there's that. But I have looked up the Resolute Square just to see. I'll follow them, subscribe to them, whatever, and see what's going on with them, just to check it out. So thanks for the recommendation on that. However, because I eventually do need to go pick up my kiddos from my dad and stepmom, don't want to leave them with them too much, and they might get too bored. I know they went for ice cream. I know they're going to go swimming. I think the pool closes at the hotel soon. Ken could be as Harry Potter and unshaven gardener. Kelly loved sci-fi as a kid, then drifted to politics. Thing is, there's lots of politics that are in sci-fi, and that sometimes to me makes it good sci-fi is when you inject the politics into it, and when you can use the story to make a good point, not necessarily when you can beat somebody over the head with the point. Because there's an episode of Star Trek Voyager that I didn't watch the entire thing, because I was getting tired of the fact that I knew how it was going to end, and I was getting tired of the fact that they were just beating us over the head with something that I agreed with. I even agreed with the message about, like, the greed of the healthcare industry, where you had one people living in it was like a space station, and on like the upper levels and the rich levels of the space station, they were using this drug for cosmetic purposes, and then on the lower levels of the space station, they needed that drug to help them treat legitimate disease, and because of the scarcity of it, the willingness of the people on the higher decks who were wealthier would pay more and be able to get that medicine to them. Meanwhile, the other people on the lower levels were suffering and dying of this disease. So would the Voyager intervene? Would the holographic doctor intervene and fix everything? Tune in and find out. Well, obviously you probably could figure out how it ended up, but it was just like over the top, like healthcare bad, healthcare greedy, and it is, and I agree with it. But it was just so heavy-handed. It was not pleasant. So, hey, Greeter TK, you're catching us right at the very end, because I have to go pick my kids up soon. Yes, Kelly, exactly. Art predicting real life. Although that's the other thing, though. Some people do want sci-fi as an escape as well. They want to be able to escape into the sci-fi and enjoy themselves. And when you handle such topics like that so heavy-handedly, it's just like, stop it. You know, like you do have your not so subtle jabs, like when Anakin in Revenge of the Sith is like, if you're not with me, you're my enemy. And I'm like, okay, that's making fun of Bush. Haha, I love it. That's fine. But Jolie, you love that episode of Voyager. I mean, you're free to. Let's see, hold on. Somebody said something in the Twitch chat. Let's see if I can... I don't know what happened to it. John Scalzi is a liberal science fiction writer that I love. Yes, I agree with you. I also like John Scalzi. He is a very good... and I love the points that Nope, stop. There you go. I often will cite one of his articles that he posted on his blog post, on his whatever blog post, comparing privilege with video games, and how he makes the point that if you have white privilege versus white privilege, if you're a white person, you have white privilege, compared to a black person that might be playing a game, the game of life. And sometimes you start a game on an easier mode, sometimes you start a game on a harder mode. So when you're playing this game, of life as a white person, you start off the game on a default easier level, versus you starting the game as a black person, where you're starting off the game as a harder level because of all the systemic injustices that take place in our society. And then it doesn't mean that just because you're black, you can't win the game. You could be great at playing the game, and you could do really, really well. And then just doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to win the game if you start the game on easy mode. You might suck at playing the game, but you're still starting the game on an easier mode because you're going to get less obstacles in your way. So, it's one of his articles that's available online that I often will paraphrase. And then I'll say, like, maybe a white person might have an easier time finding the princess or saving the princess than the black person. Doesn't mean the white person will be able to save the princess. Doesn't mean the black person won't save the princess. It just means the black person is going to have a harder time getting to the princess because life is on a harder mode on average for black people. And then I'll usually throw in the why it's always saving the princess is the next level, but you're not ready for intersectionality yet. So, yeah, the black person is starting 10 feet behind the starting line. I usually say the argument is the black person, you have a black person and a white person, and they're starting a race, right? So you're starting a race, but like the white person's marathon is a straight shot. No hills, no nothing, just a straight shot. The black person's course has ups and down hills. There are hurdles to jump over. There's cross traffic. They didn't block off any of the intersections for the black person, and they have a 10-pound weight around each of their ankles that they have to deal with as they're running this race. And then all of a sudden, what happens is, they say, well, we became more equal. We got rid of discrimination. Okay, fine. Let's say you ended all discrimination at that point. So and they're like, okay, well, let's say the white runner goes, okay, this is really unfair to my opponent. I've already run a mile, I've already run 5 miles or 10 miles or whatever, but I agree. It's unfair that my opponent has to run on this race with these encumbrances on their body. How about you take up the encumbrances? How about you and then you move the person over to my track, and therefore that person can run on my track too, and therefore we've eliminated all of the unfairness. I'm like, well, sure, you might have eliminated unfairness for people starting fresh, but in the situation, you're already 10 miles ahead of the other runner, because the other runner didn't get to go as far because they've had to deal with all of those issues. They had to deal with all those obstacles, literal obstacles. They had to deal with the fact that they had weights on their feet where they couldn't move as fast. So you don't solve the problem simply by just ending the discrimination. You have to find some way to make up for the discrimination. And that's why one of the reasons I support reparations. And people aren't ready. A lot of people aren't ready for that either. Simply because they're not ready. They don't want to say 40 acres and a mule, motherfuckers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be equity. TV2 Live says, Happy Hump Day. My t-shirt. What day is it? Hump Day. That's my t-shirt today. What day is it? Hump Day. Appreciate you, Pam. Good. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for adding that. Thank you for bringing up Scalzi, because I was trying to reach down and grab, because I literally used to have the book right here underneath my desk, but I think everything got pushed back for some reason, so I couldn't find it. Hey, Sinful Solutions, good to see you as well. We do have 34 viewers and 36 likes, but that doesn't mean that everybody who's currently viewing has liked. So make sure to smash that like button, and then the patriarchy. What else? We are going to maybe try next week to bring on Mandy Landry onto the show to have a discussion about the Louisiana legislative session and how it just is terrible for Louisiana, and just kind of a blueprint, I think, for what conservatives are going to try and do nationwide once, they're able to get everything done here. And we'll try to have Mandy Landry on. We're going to try and get Amber Rose Petrovich, again, one of the friends of the show, who's going to be coming back and doing more stuff on the show, try and get her on the show to talk about the new stuff she's doing, try to get her on to be able to do her bits that she does, her money bits. So we're going to be talking about that as well. Janelle, thank you for liking my shirt. I can only wear it once a week, though. So, yep, an Oklahoma Supreme Court just denied Tulsa Massacre survivors from receiving their due. That's another thing. I don't just support There are some people who only want to see reparations for people who can prove direct descendancy to slavery. So if you're a black person in this country and you can show a line to slavery, that there are people who will say that those people should get reparations, but nobody else. I'm like, no. If you're a black person in this country, regardless, you should get reparations because of the fact that you've had to deal with not just the setbacks from slavery, the setbacks from Jim Crow, the setbacks from all of the racist policies that have taken place in this country, and just the racism in general that has existed structurally in this country has made it harder for black people to succeed and has kept black people from gaining wealth in this country. But yes, people who are descendants of slavery absolutely deserve it. Disproportionate sentencing, disproportionate arrest, convictions, everything like that has added to the problems that a black person might see in today's society where reparations should be due. And pay for it by legalizing marijuana and taxing it. That's one of my ideas. And then people would say, well, I didn't do the discrimination. That was people from before. Okay, fine. If let's say I had a great-grandfather, or great-great-great-grandfather, how many greats you want to go back? I had a triple great-grandfather. That person had a watch, right? Let's say that person had a watch. Let's say your great-great-great-grandfather stole that watch. That watch should have been in my family. That watch should have been my family. That watch is in your family now. Several generations down, I see you. You have my grandfather's watch. And I know you have my grandfather's watch. And I can prove that watch is my grandfather's watch. Should you have to give me back that watch? Absolutely. Why? Because it belongs to my family, it doesn't belong to your family. It doesn't matter to me that you're the one who didn't, you're not the one who took it. You still have it. You're benefiting from it. You should have to give it back. Well, a whole bunch of people had their labor stolen from them. That money that, if they would have paid the people for the work that they were doing, that might have helped and would have done other things to discriminate against them. They could have, not had redlining, not had other sorts of financial discrimination against them above beyond the Tulsa massacre and the bombing of Black Wall Street. Maybe these black families would have been able to accumulate wealth generationally. But no, they don't have, there's not generational wealth. There's generational discrimination that now you have to fight against. So, see, wait, Surrender Monkey. What's up, Surrender Monkey? I might be wrong, but isn't Donald Trump entitled to that money via the vote for me, I don't care about you law? I don't know. Is that a law? Or that's just his statement, was that vote for me, 'cause I don't care about you, I just care about your vote. What's your thoughts on descendants of Native Americans? How should that be addressed? Potentially similar. There are, treaties that were violated, and we should go back and deal with that. I think it's a different subject in that I don't think that many Native Americans were enslaved, but there has been wrongs done to Native Americans, and that should be looked at as well. Again, the typical conservative talking point is, we didn't do it in this generation, therefore we shouldn't have to pay for it. Which is basically an argument is like, my ancestors did bad, so therefore I should get the benefit for free. I should still get the benefit for free. I shouldn't have to pay for the benefits that I'm getting. Sound familiar? They usually rant about that when they call it socialism, but they have no problem benefiting from the labor of other people as long as they don't pin the label of socialism on it. But if other people have to label off of benefit off of their labor, they will label it socialism and be against it all the time. I'm almost out of water. I am out of water. Ken QB, in North Illinois, a Potawatomi family tribe were working through the courts to get their land back, and it was given to them for eternity. They want to work with current owners, including the state of Illinois. And hopefully it happens. So, Robin M., I can't see all of Dan's shirt. It just says, what day is it? It's a camel, and then it says hump day. And that's it. That's all you see. If I lift it up anymore, you'd see my fat belly. Pam, I'm over on Twitch. I've had some clueless dolt ask me why we didn't have universal health care in the 50s when we had income taxes at 90% on the wealthy. I said, you never learned about the Red Scare in school. Exactly. And again, just because we had a 90% tax on the wealthy, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of their income was taxed. Back in the time where we had a 90% tax on the wealthy, you could write off like 100% of the interest you pay. So if you took out a loan and you paid like a whole bunch of interest, all of that interest could be written off. Where now, I don't think that's the case. Because when you're discussing taxes and tax rates, and whether or not something is fair or not, you have to always talk about, well, what's being taxed? What is considered taxable income? So if I have, let's say I make $100, and we have a 50% tax rate, but there's so many exceptions that only make 50% of my income taxable and the other income is not taxable. That's the same thing as having earning $100 and having a 25% tax rate where all the income is taxable. But too many times people in the media and the punditry won't make that other leap to kind of explain that. It's one of my issues with like health insurance. Like, if you have a job that pays you 50 grand, but they cover all of your health insurance for free, like all of your premiums are covered. Or if you have a job that pays you 60 grand and you have to pay those 10,000 premiums. So let's say none of your health care is included on your paycheck. Like, there's no line item for your paycheck, but as a part of your employment, your employer is going to pay $10,000 of premiums for you as well. Okay? So then let's say you have another job where you get paid 60 grand for the same work, and you have to take 10,000 of that money, and you have to pay the premiums out of your own pocket. What would you rather? Well, normally I argue it's pretty much the same thing, because since you get to pay those premiums at a pre-taxed rate, you're still making net $50,000 to $50,000 a year. Now, I would argue that you would want to have the $60,000 salary paying the 10 grand of insurance premiums out of your pocket. Why? When it comes time to giving a raise, let's say each job gave a 5% raise every year. I know it's laughable, but if you're on the first job, your 5% raise is being based off of your base salary, which is 50 grand. Whereas if the other job, even though you're paying 10 grand towards your insurance, that 5% raise is now based off of your 60 grand, so you're getting a bigger raise even though it's the same percentage raise. But I would also rather the 60 grand and then having to come out of pocket at a pre-tax deduction level for those premiums, because let's say I'm married and let's say my spouse also has insurance from work and I can get a group plan from my spouse's insurance that's cheaper. Well, then I keep the 60 grand and I don't have to pay it and I get the insurance from somewhere else. Whereas if you have, or let's say your spouse works at the same place and you get a family plan at the same place. Well, if both of you are working and getting paid the same amount of money, laughable, but still, just hypothetically speaking for now, if you and your spouse are both working at the same place and both are making 50 grand at the same place, and one of you gets the insurance and the other one doesn't, then your work is getting off better, because they're benefiting from that extra money that they're not having to pay to cover two people's insurance that they normally would pay if it was just the one person there. But if they did the entire salary and then made you pay it out of your paycheck, now you have two people working at the same place who get married. Now you have a joint family plan. Only one of them needs to get insurance, so the other one gets to keep the whole 60 grand. Because it's all a cost of employment. So that's why a company would rather have a bunch of that money be part of, stuff that they get to write off or they don't get to include on the paycheck, because if for some reason you don't accept it, they don't have the same cost of employment for you. It's cheaper employment. It's cheaper to employ you. It's cheaper to employ your spouse than it is for them to employ somebody else. Now, I did know somebody in a previous place that I worked at where they did have husband and wife working together, but because they liked him so much, they actually made him a deal and they worked it out so that he got additional compensation, because both him and his wife were basically only using one of their insurance plans, so the company was getting a double dip. So my friend Josh was able to figure that whole out and basically said, okay, well, I mean, she's not taking this money that she could be taking, so you have to spend less money for her, so how about you split the difference with us and give us like extra into our HSA accounts or whatever, or however they worked it. I don't know exactly how they worked it out, but they worked out in a way where the job wasn't, the employer wasn't benefiting as much as they would have had people not been smart and had he not been a valued employee. But too many times people don't think about this stuff, and because of that, that's why these employers get to walk away with more money than they should and get to undercompensate their employees. But yes, but to go back to it, we should be having universal health care, but we don't, because of the Red Scare in the 50s, and the fact that we should be able to have something like, be able to buy into Medicaid if we wanted to. You had Elizabeth Warren's plan that was berated by Chris Matthews on MSNBC, and every single time Chris Matthews tried to have this conversation with her about it, he'd be like, well, aren't people under your plan going to be paying higher taxes? And every time she tried to explain to him that sure, they might pay higher taxes, but they're no longer paying the high premiums, and they're actually making more money because they're taking less. There's less money that they have to pay towards their premiums than they do have to pay for the taxes to buy into Medicaid or Medicare or whatever. He wouldn't allow that to happen. He wouldn't allow that conversation to take place. I don't know why, but that's the way it was. But for some reason, Chris Matthews, that dolt, wouldn't understand the idea that, oh, I get it. Your overall, let's say I have to pay $500 more in taxes a month to get on Medicare for a family plan. I'll take it, because that's less money than I'm paying in premiums. And it's probably less money that I'll have to pay in coinsurance, in deductibles, in co-pays, etc. Let me pay higher taxes so I can have that and pay less in premiums. But when you have too many overly simplified voters who are just willing to accept arguments like that, that's why we can't have nice things. Because you have dishonest people in the media sometimes who won't ask the right questions. All right, I missed a whole bunch in there. Liberal Dan, stop playing games and say what you mean. America should invade Canada and take their NHS. Canada would be like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. You'll take my NHS when you pry it from my cold, Labatt's holding hands. Yes, Kevin Anderson, it's exactly like the beer commercial. Hey, what day it is? Hump day. What? See, Pam on Twitch. I had to point out to another clueless fool that a flat tax is a simple-minded solution for a complex situation. It's not fair, and it's not the wonderful idea that she thought it was. Agreed. And people who make, especially if it's a flat tax with no floor. Like if it's a flat tax that doesn't have any exemption for initial income, you're taxing people on their ability to live, and the wealthier people get more. Meanwhile, the same people who argue for a flat tax will also argue against capital gains taxes being as high as regular other income. It doesn't make any sense. But then again, conservatism has hypocrisy as a prerequisite. So, sinful solutions. Normal people can't afford all those loopholes. Oh, that's why we need to get. That's why we need to have more simpler solutions. But we need to be more clear about it. Yes. Also, the wealthy get their investments described not income, but as return on investment. Exactly. Let's see. Scroll through the chat. That's how someone like Trump could pay only $750 in taxes. Loopholes. Well, yeah, because also you end up having where nowadays sometimes they'll take out loans or something, or they'll get paid with stock compensation, use those stocks as collateral for the loans, and then live off of loans. And then the loans are because you're getting money from loans, it's not taxed because it's not income, it's a loan. Let's see. Normal people just do whatever, don't know better. A rich person skirts the system and F's over the normal system. Exactly. No, stop it. I just adjusted my ear again and it's still freaking doing the same thing. It's the only problem with my earbuds. I like having the earbuds because I don't have the big headset over my head, but if I have to adjust my earbud, it's a pain because it starts playing the end song. Or the outro song, I guess. I don't know. So my dad and I went to a job interview together for bank board of directors. He told his history, he asked me the same question. I said, well, he makes me sound like shit. Putin, my brother works for a company that, like that Dan, they extend employment to spouses and employ even their kids. And unfortunately, they probably do this. They probably don't offer them incentives for working as a family, and as such, they don't allow that they'll make more money off of it, and that's the sad thing. But that people don't think about it. People don't think about how that's how they get away with taking more money and take advantage of their workers. I heard his exact words from Costco stores in Canada. They don't need a department handling their employed healthcare. In USA, they need a whole department, pretty much. If we said politicians weren't eligible for re-election and we were more than 3% of the debt of the GDP, if we were more than 3% debt of our GDP, our problems would be solved. Maybe, but here's the thing: is like sometimes you do need to run a deficit, especially like if there's like a war. You need to run a deficit in times of war, because you'll likely have to crank out the economy, especially military stuff. So, see, Ichabod, why don't corporations in the USA say it? Why don't they lobby to end privatized healthcare? Because the privatized healthcare is another private company, and they don't want to lose that. Doesn't hurt the corporations. The corporations get to manipulate their payroll that way. So there's also workman's comp on top of that, which is very expensive for companies. If we had universal healthcare, that would be reduced cost there too. Jeff Curry loopholes. She was great girlfriend, but I had to. What? I don't even get that. TV2, full-time workers have to be offered healthcare by their employers, don't they? Most cases, yes, they do. And there's certain requirements on it based from the Affordable Care Act, but you can still manipulate the system, and they're going to try and manipulate the system as much as they can. All right, it's 9:30 now. I managed to talk an additional half an hour more than I thought I was going to, by talking about all this stuff. But I do appreciate stuff bringing up in the chat, like Pam and people over here in the YouTube chat as well. But we are going to go ahead and call this an end to this week's episode, or today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. We will be back unless something big happens, like they release the ruling in the Donald Trump immunity case from the Supreme Court. We will be back again Monday, 8 p.m. Central here, liberaldanradio.com, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio as well. Please remember to like the video if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channels, follow the channels on Twitch, help the show, share videos, comment on videos, engage with the people, even if you disagree with them, simply because it helps the algorithms, and Al Gore needs much more rhythm. Till next Monday, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. Thank you, Robin, for the super chat. Appreciate it.